Well, as you can see, I have a brand new Tesla Model Y that we're going to review today. Matter of fact, it is the very first Tesla Model Y delivered here in Ontario, Canada. Now, I reached out to you guys on Twitter and on YouTube to ask you if there was anything in particular you hadn't already seen before, because there have been a lot of reviews on the Model Y. Now, having said that, I got a lot of stuff to cover, and unfortunately, there's so much to cover, I can't do it alone. So I thought, who could I ask that would be able to help me out? And there's only one person that I can think of that could help me out with this review today. Hello, Kenneth Bocor.
Trevor, how are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
You know, if you're new to the channel, you may not know Kenneth Bocor, but he and I, back in the day when it was called Model 3 Owners Club, used to run a daily show reviewing all things Tesla and EV. And like I said, I couldn't think of anybody better to help me out with the Model Y today, because we were the very first people to do a deep dive on the Model 3. So that is exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to take a look at the Model Y. So let's dig in.
Let's do it.
Now, it's been said many times before that the Model Y is just a Model 3 on steroids. Now, technically, you'd be correct. There are some things under the hood that are different from the Model 3, because Tesla, as an innovative company, is always changing and progressing as they go. We'll talk about some of those differences a little bit later, but visually, let's take a look at the car. You'll notice that around the wheel arches and the rocker panels on the bottom, they're much more pronounced, much more like a Model X. A lot of SUVs are kind of like that. But the biggest difference you'll notice with the Model Y is all of the chrome, the bright work, as you say, is completely missing on this car. This signifies a little bit of a change in fashion, because as with anything with fashion, chrome kind of comes and goes over the years, and this is definitely the direction that Tesla is going. You'll notice on the Roadster or even the Cybertruck, and of course now with the Model Y, that chrome is completely gone. Now in the future, I believe personally, that when they get around to refreshing the Model S, the Model X, and eventually the Model 3, that this chrome stuff will be gone too. It'll look more like this, more in line with what's going on with the German manufacturers. Now, there are a lot of similarities between this and the Model 3. You'll notice the headlights are the same, the blinkers are the same, the mirrors are the same, the door handles are the same, other than the obvious color differences. The autopilot cameras are all in the same places. Now, anecdotally, Tesla has used 75% of the parts on the Model 3 on the Model Y, but I personally believe, looking at various changes and stuff, I think it's more like 50%, but that's really nor there nor here. Now, shortly in the review, we'll put my Model 3 beside the Model Y so you can see for yourself the actual differences in terms of sizes, but having owned a Model X myself, I can say the Model Y is almost as tall. Again, this is a CUV. They've stretched out the interior to make up some more interior space, and I think that's a very good thing. Now, I know a lot of you have been asking, why did Tesla not start with a CUV? Because let's face it, here in North America, this is the largest car segment market, but I think it has to do with efficiency. Tesla, with an all-new drivetrain on the Model 3, really wanted to make sure that they got very good, robust numbers on that before they moved on to that. Either that, or maybe it's just Elon, because he likes sedans. As far as proportions go, I think Tesla really nailed this. They took all the perfect elements of the Model 3 and just scaled them up in the areas that make sense to get an SUV on the market as fast as possible. It really speaks to me. The design language of the Model 3 now is very well cemented in people's minds, so seeing this car, I wouldn't be surprised a lot of people actually mistake it for a Model 3. When you see it in person compared to pictures, you'll understand. Many people said the same thing about the Model 3. Well, I wasn't too sure. And then you see it in person, and it immediately clicks with you. And I think that's exactly what you're going to see here in the Model Y. The Model Y's frunk is larger than the Model 3. First, let's talk, you probably can't see this completely here, but there is a large plastic insert here on the top to make up for the difference to be able to get down to the seal. But let's take some measurements here of the inside of the front trunk. The middle part is approximately 3 feet wide, or some 62 centimeters wide. The depth of the front trunk is 19 inches from front to back, or 48 centimeters deep. The rear of the front trunk is 16 inches from top to bottom, or some 41 centimeters deep. And the front of the front trunk is 11 inches deep, or 31 centimeters. And the very bottom of the front trunk is 28 inches wide, or 72 centimeters wide. Just like the Model 3, you have your windshield washer filler cap there, and this large segment here can be pulled off to reveal the 12-volt battery system. Not too many details to talk about in here, but it's mostly the same layout as the Model 3. You have your 12-volt battery here. Now, the biggest difference between the Model 3 and the Model Y, and you can't see it here in the shop, but underneath here is the world's most advanced heat pump found in a car. And that heat pump is responsible for the extra range available on the Model Y compared to the Model 3, because it's very, very efficient. How efficient? Well, I can't exactly answer that, because we're gonna have to wait to the winter months here to see how efficient it is. The other difference here in the Model Y compared to the Model 3 is the air intake for the HVAC system has a foam gasket going around the top, and this allows for better seal with the plastic cover. The other thing I've noticed in this car, and you can't see here on camera, are the 3 nuts that are found on the top of the shock dampers. The holes are larger. I just lowered my suspension on my Model 3 and found that we had to use some special sockets to get in there. So those of you who want to tune this car, maybe lower it or increase the height, will like the fact that you can get a socket in there. By the way, Jay Leno, this is how you close the front trunk on a Model Y. The biggest gripe that people have had over the Model 3 for many years, despite the fact that most sedans on the market don't have it, is a power lift gate. Well, it's not an SUV, but they did add it to the Model Y. Now, the biggest advantage to this is that you have a huge opening for the cargo area, and that includes the bottom wheel here on the bottom. We'll show you a detail here in a second. But the biggest benefit here is you have 68 cubic feet of storage. Now, compared to the Model 3 at 15, you can understand this is a big deal. So let's talk about the cargo space on the Model Y. You can see here you have a very large flat area, and you have an even larger well compared to the Model 3. This cover moves out of the way, and many of you have been asking, how big is it? Well, I happen to have a Tasmanian cooler that is purposely designed to fit in the Model 3 well, and as you can see, it fits in the Model Y with a little bit of extra space to spare all the way around, and you can actually close the cover very comfortably. Now, this is a 5-seat variant of the Model Y because that's all Tesla's making here at the moment. And you'll see here that you get a little extra cubby hole, about 4 inches deep, to put extra things. Now, this area will not be present on the 7-seat variant of the car because that is where the 3rd row seats will go. We'll talk about that shortly. Now, compared to the Model 3, the Model Y is actually a little bit wider. So one of the benefits is you get extra large cubby holes here on the left and the right sides of the car to store, well, whatever kind of things that you want. I'll draw your attention here to the left side of the car. You have 2 buttons that you pull on that release the 2 seats here for the middle row. Now, they're spring-loaded. Pulling on them does not pull them back. You have to manually do that, but with 1 button push, you can actually lay them flat. Very nice feature. Now, the Model Y has a 60/40 seat, just like the Model 3, but it has one extra trick up its sleeve. The middle section, by pulling on this little lever, can be let down, so you have an extra large cargo area, so you can put things like 2x4s or skis. The only problem with it is you have a mounting point here that is fixed, so make sure that you load anything in the car, you don't hit this and damage any of your goods. Now, you guys were asking if 2 grown men can camp in the back of the Model Y? Confirmed. Yep. Let's talk about the hitch on the Model Y. Now, the owner of this particular all-wheel drive car did not opt for it at the time. It is now actually available if you order the car. It's a $1,000 option US, and the receiver sits right behind this plastic cover, and there's also a power connector here for trailers. If you've taken delivery of a Model Y and still want a tow hitch, unfortunately, you can't order it from Tesla either through service, but you can get an aftermarket one from a company called Torque Lift Central. They make a product called the Eco Hitch, and it's actually available for the Model Y. It's actually quite affordable as well. Let's talk about the 2nd row. As you can see, I have lots of leg room. Matter of fact, I have about 4.5 inches in front of my legs. I'm 5'10". The passenger seat is pushed all the way back. This is great. I really like this. And the best feature is the huge panoramic roof that runs from the front crossmember all the way to the rear crossmember. This, in my opinion, is one of the best features of the Model Y. And if you haven't seen it in person, you're really missing out. Now, as far as creature comforts are concerned, it's very much like a Model 3. You have a center console, which is rear-facing with air conditioning outlets. Unfortunately, passengers still don't have control over the HVAC system back here other than moving the louvers. And the other change, of course, is that they've put USB-C ports on the back. Now, this is also in production as of beginning of June for the Model 3 in North America, of course, on the Chinese manufactured Model 3s as well. So if you have a car that you've ordered, say a Model 3 since the beginning of June, you can expect to have the USB-C ports in your car as well. Now, as far as seating position is concerned for passengers, you're a little more upright on here, but the Model Y has an extra little trick. You can recline the back seats ever so slightly. For maybe long trips, you have a little bit more comfort here. So I like this. Just a point of note that there are latch attachments for car seats only on the 2 outer seats. There are none here in the middle seat. So Ken, we're sitting in the 2nd row of the Model Y, so let's talk about the experience of this 2nd row as far as passengers are concerned.
Well, it's a very pleasant experience. I mean, viewers know I'm not the smallest guy on the planet, and I'm very comfortable here. Lots of elbow space, a ton of height for the for the roof line coming down.
About 5 inches for where I'm sitting.
And I love again that panoramic view. It just makes it feel so much open without really getting the burn of the sun and all those impacts. Everything is built very well, comfortable material, soft touch. I like it.
A couple little differences in the Model Y compared to the Model 3, mainly on the account because there's no cross member here for the passengers, is they put the little lights here on the side and the coat hooks up in the C-pillar area. So Ken, we need to take a few moments here and talk about the third row situation, because there's been a lot of talk on the internet, of course, about how is Tesla going to fit a third row in a small CUV like this. Now, truth be told, I was at the Model Y reveal event back in March of 2019, and I actually have pictures of the third row, and they actually face forward. Now, some people, including Sandy Monroe, bless his heart, were saying that the third row on the car would be facing backwards. However, I don't believe that's what's going to happen. See, Tesla is not in the habit of showing prototypes that vary all that much to the production cars. The other thing too is a lot of people, honestly haven't been exposed to a Model X and how Tesla does that in the Model X. Now, I had a Model X. It was the 6-seat variant, but you look at the 5-seat and the 7-seat variants that they're currently making, it has a bench seat, much like what we're sitting in right now. Now, here's how Tesla deals with the third row in the 5 and the 7-seat variant of the Model X with the bench seat. They put the bench seat on sliders, and that's exactly what I think they're going to do here in the Model Y. This bench seat right now is fixed because it's the 5-seat variant, but when they go to put the third row seats in there, if you order it that way, this bench seat will be on sliders and you'll be able to move it forward and still have a little bit of leg room in the front and give space for the people that's sitting in the back. Now, in all honesty, I don't think the seats in the back are going to be huge because they're not that big on the Model X anyways. So for small adults or for kids, I think it'll be adequate, but if you're going to do long road trips in a 7-seat variant on the Model Y, I don't think you're going to be all that comfortable. So just keep that in mind, but that's my belief, and I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. Forward facing, second row seats on sliders. All right, Ken, we're inside the Model Y. Let's talk about this compared to the Model 3. Impressions.
Well, it's lovely. I mean, it's very similar. It's the exact same experience that you'll get out of the Model 3 coming in here. I think the illusion of size is there. It does feel a bit bigger and spacious. I believe the width on the vehicles is the same, but it does seem wider when you're in it, I think because the overall vehicle is bigger. But again, it's got the efficient layout. The Spartan dash interior, but I was in a Model 3 not long ago and it was a minute to get used to everything. So it's a very pleasant experience, nicely fitted. I love the color scheme. It's very comfortable. The seats are, I believe, exactly the same that's in the 3.
Matter of fact, yes, the front seats on the Model Y are literally identical to the Model 3. The only difference in this car is that they've actually put them on risers. And a common question with the Model Y is, what is it like looking through the rear view mirror? Well, as you can see here, it's very similar to the Model X. The aperture is very small. So yeah, it's not ideal, but you're just going to have to get used to it. Now, some of you have been asking how loud is the heat pump in the Model Y, and this is with the AC turned on. It's not too bad. And just to compare, here is my Model 3's AC. It's more of a pump sound than it is a whirring noise or a fan. The Model Y is a little bit louder, but not obnoxiously so. So here we are, the first time driving the Model Y. Now, I was a passenger at the reveal event, but this is our first time driving this. And you know what? My first impressions, other than the fact that the layout is exactly like a Model 3, sitting upright is really nice. Actually reminds me a lot of my Model X, although, minus the windshield thing. But this is really quite nice.
I felt the same way when I sat in that. I love the upright driving position for it. The visibility is excellent, so it really enhances that with all the glass that you get and the panoramic roofs. I mean, Tesla has nailed it with that. People think it's a concern about the sun. We have a hot sunny day here. It's glaring down and it's very pleasant.
We're just going to go around this corner here. We'll see what the body roll is like because we are sitting a little higher up off the ground. Oh no, it feels very planted.
Very
yeah,
nice.
Very planted.
Nice. Next time I'll go like this. A roller coaster.
Yeah, it's not a performance Model 3, but it's pretty good.
I think that's enough speed to get you up and going.
Oh yeah, that's enough to get you in or out of trouble depending on which way you want to go.
For sure. One thing I do notice, Trevor, is that this does sound quieter than even the current Model 3. Are you sensing that as well?
I think it's about the same. It's hard to make a complete determination. I have a performance car and it's a little lower to the ground, suspension's a little harsher, but I would say it's about the same. I mean, you know, without tearing the car apart and seeing how much sound dampening they put in different places, I would say I put it on par pretty much with the Model X. I think all Teslas, personally, would really benefit from having 2 sets of door seals. That's been a bugaboo of mine for quite some time. I think that small addition to all of the Teslas would make a huge difference as far as that's concerned. I mean, the nice thing is there are aftermarket second set of door seal kits you can get for $35-40 that go a long way to helping with sound dampening in the closure areas. But I will have to say, if you're looking for a Model Y and you think that the Model 3 is too low, this is going to be perfect for you.
Definitely is. Again, that entry exit is just a breeze to get in this vehicle. It's deceiving, the amount of interior room. It does still feel bigger, even though from the front it's, I believe, identical to the Model 3 or very close, other than the seats being higher.
Yeah, I think it's the illusion of the seats being higher that's throwing you off, but otherwise the width is the same. But the familiarity, I mean, if you're coming from a Model 3 and you're thinking about trading in to go to something like this, you'll be able to just hop right in and go, because it's just completely familiar to everyone on there.
Absolutely.
Now, you guys asked, you wanted to see the size difference. Well, here it is, Model Y, Model 3. Obviously, there's a height difference between the two, but keep in mind, this is a performance Model 3, which is typically lower than most other Teslas, and I've just lowered mine with some lowered springs by about 2 inches. But you can see there's definitely a size difference. But the best part is that they're both Teslas, they both share the same DNA, and the design language, at least between these two cars, is very much shared. I think they have a real winner on this car. So there's your difference. If you want a Model 3, this is what you're gonna get. This is a Model Y, and I think, well, you choose, it's up to you. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane with my friend Kenneth Bacor. Thanks for coming out today, Ken.
Well,
really
thanks for inviting me. Thanks for having me out. It definitely was nice to see you again and reminisce about old times.
Yeah, we couldn't ask for a nice, beautiful day to be able to do the review on the Model Y. And I want to say thank you and a shout out to our friend Sam, who let us use the very first Model Y delivered here in Ontario to be able to do our review here today. Listen, let us know in the comments below if there's anything we missed or you wanted any questions and stuff. Obviously, when we're filming these kind of things, sometimes little things slip through the cracks, but we hope we've given you a pretty good impression and a fairly deep dive on the car and let you know kind of the features that you've been asking. So, yeah, with that, what are your thoughts, Ken? I want some closing thoughts on this.
Well, closing thoughts, you know, I always try to relate it to a typical consumer, and this car is just something you get in and drive. So yes, the technology could be a little over, you know, people could look at it as too much, hard to understand, but it really is simplistic. And if it's anything that people can take away, that if you're not familiar with Tesla's technology, is that it very is easy to operate. Just get in this vehicle and go. Very comfortable, lots of acceleration, tons of battery life. Definitely a thumbs up in my book.
And I know a lot of you have been asking, should I trade in my Tesla or my other car for a Model Y? Well, obviously that question is best answered by you. I can't make up your mind for you. I know for me, having owned a Model X and now gone to a Model 3, if I was looking for an SUV again, honestly, this is the car I would be looking at. Unless, you know, you have the monetary means to be able to get into a Model X, that's up to you. I know for me, my money is on the Cybertruck. That's a car I'm super excited about, but that's in the future.
Another story.
But for today, I think Tesla has a real winner on your hands.
Agreed.
Ken, question for you. Is a Model Y in your future?
Well, you know, a Model 3 is kind of in my thought process for the future, because we will be probably looking at another all-electric vehicle for next year, a second one that I will take ownership of. And I'm definitely, the Model 3 has always been part of my heart. Obviously, people know the history there, that I've always followed it. But, you know, after seeing this and getting into it, and if the price point does come down, as you guys were talking about earlier off camera, it definitely is going to be a serious look in my book.
Well, there you have it. Might be a future Tesla in Ken's garage.
I've already got the charger for it.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thanks for watching, folks. We really appreciate it. Leave some comments down below. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. Got some cool stuff coming your way. Thanks again, Ken.
Thank you.
See you guys.